Alright, let's make some waves, hey. Hey guys, welcome to episode 3, Whale Central. Just going to start quickly by saying I'm filthy with Google. So, turns out if you want to get your podcast on Google Podcasts, you have to be in the US or Canada. I feel discriminated against. It's fucking bullshit. But we're on Spotify now. Exciting times. Check out episode 2, YouTube. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's make it do what it do.
Yeah, let's make it do what it do. So, where are we starting?
Harper, what happened to your car on Monday?
So,
Got a bit of an egg on my head actually from it. That was from Saturday.
no.
Wild.
So I'm not going to say I'm a bad driver. And I've never really had any accidents
Until Monday, fuck.
until Monday. So it's been a bit of a wet, cold and wet morning, and the night beforehand. Driving perfectly responsible, just on the way to get a few coffees with the fellas. Come to or attempt to come to a stop, and not going fast. I was driving fairly responsibly. I wasn't driving erratically at all. In my '98 Nissan Pulsar, I've hit the brakes on a little bit of a slope, particularly slippery slope. Wheels have locked up, and I didn't really have time to tap the brakes on and off to actually gain traction back. So the car's just slid straight down into the gutter, and completely taken out the wheel alignment. I've got to drive with the wheel sideways to actually go straight now. Whole car lists to the right. It's really just a right pain.
You cannot drive without the wheels squeaking. It squeals just driving in a straight line because the wheels are not parallel with each other anymore. Well,
No, they're not.
no, they're not.
It looks fucked. When we, I was in the back, and everyone felt it.
We all
when we
do.
pulled over, I was like, oh, I don't think he's gotten away with this. Like we seem to be moving. You just wheels locked up and away you went.
Yeah, the worst bit is, I had actively been trying to drive pretty responsibly that morning. I knew it was wet. I didn't want to have an accident. I was like, yeah, let's just take it easy. We're not in a rush today. And so apparently the moral of the story is never drive responsibly.
I think the moral of the story is the more time you spend on the road, the more dangerous it is for you and those around you. So you should drive as fast as you can everywhere, so that way you're spending less time on the road.
Scientific fact, that. So, yeah.
And time is money, so think of it as you're getting paid for it as well.
Yeah,
Speeding.
that's it. 100%. There's really no downside. There is absolutely no downside. Speaking of driving, had a bit of an encounter last week. So, my stepdad and I have gone to go check out a car. It was going to be a private sale. It's about 8 o'clock at night. We've driven to the other side of town. Shithole. And pulled up, met the bloke. Seems nice enough. Car seems fine. It was pretty reasonably priced. It was like this. It was an SUV, and we're driving it around for a little bit, responsibly. And then my stepdad gives it some because you get your car up to speed when you're doing a bit of a test drive. And then we pull up at the lights, and I'm like, "Hey mate, do you reckon that's smoke or steam? Like, can you see that coming out of the side?" He's like, "Oh, nah, I can't see it from here." And I was like, wait, hold up. Look the fuck behind you. We've looked at the exhaust. It is just piling out smoke. Like, smoke is coming everywhere out of this car. And then we pull up to the next lights, and then this woman's like warning us. She's like, I've wound my window down. She's like, "Excuse me, your car, it's smoking. Like, it's on fire." Like, I was so scared. Paul's like, Paul being my stepdad, he's like, "Fuck, let's just get it back, hey?" I was like, "Oh, shit." Didn't run reds, but you're contemplating at that point because you don't know when the thing's going to blow. Scary. Just this massive trail of smoke behind us as we pull up to the house. Get out of the car, and he's like, "Oh, what do you think?" And we're like, "Oh, probably don't think it's for us, hey? Like, don't think it's for me."
Did he actually ask
Yeah,
that?
what did he say?
No,
about it?
he literally went, "Oh, what do you think of the car?" And it was like, oh.
You're fucking joking.
and said that's like got a little bit of an oil leak or something, does it? He goes, the bloke dead set, I can't make this shit up. He's like, look, it's got the tiniest little oil leak, and like, you know, not afraid of an oil leak, like whatever, like fix it up. We're like, whereabouts is it? And he said, mate, it's so small, the mechanic can't even pinpoint where it's coming from.
Oh, that's good.
And I was like, we're like, yeah, nah. And it also, like, the transmission was fucked. I'm like, yeah, don't think this is for us, hey. But just this massive pile of smoke, like, all around the car. It was like a bubble. I was so scared. I thought, this is it. This is how I go out.
Try and sell a car like that. Like, if you know something that fundamentally is wrong. I mean, you're going to get pulled over for driving a car like that just because of the risks it poses.
100%. And look, it could be a little oil leak that's dropping onto something hot and burning everywhere, but I don't know. It was a lot of smoke.
I like the fact that he thought to himself it was a good idea to say, yeah, even the mechanics can't find it. Like, that's a good selling point.
Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
This must be a good vehicle then.
So there's a couple of fun.
Good. A problem that we can't find or fix. That's helpful. Good.
Yeah,
Didn't you end up buying it?
Fuck no. Mate, it poured smoke out the front and back. No, we did not buy it.
What was that green thing in your car?
Driveway.
Yeah, what was that green car in your driveway?
Ah, that was a shitbox we bought ages ago.
Is that the To Be Frank story, or?
To be frank.
To be frank. Your stepdad?
Oh, that was different. Nah, so stepdad's you know, he's haggling with a guy online, just going, hey, you know, what price do you want? And he said one thing, and my stepdad, obviously, as negotiating goes, he offered a bit lower than that. And, like, it wasn't an unreasonable offer, but the car wasn't that badly priced. Like, they probably could have just met in the middle. And he's gone, and the bloke's messaged my stepdad back going, mate, it's a great price for the car. I've been frank with you. You know, don't try and lowball me. And my stepdad's message back saying, thanks for your time, Frank. And I was like,
that is comedic gold.
Yeah, actually, mate, it's quality. That is A1 comedy, I thought.
Does it get better?
Oh, it does. Because he messaged back the other day saying, oh, for this price, you can have it today. And we just bought a new car. And he went, nah, sorry. No can do, Frank. Already bought a car. So he's kept calling him Frank. What have we got next? Bit of a current affair. So, Huawei. Massive Chinese telecommunications company. They've been blacklisted by the Trump government. So in the States, you can't have a Huawei now. Which would be, you know, it's a big deal, right? Like, I think from now on, because it's a Chinese company, I think it's like government owned, like that. So there's lots of laws in different countries surrounding this. So in China, if my understanding of it, and I might be wrong, but my understanding is that if the government sees it fit for security purposes, they have rights to access any and all Chinese company data. So any server that is in China, they can have full access over.
So obviously that's a risk for any private information that acts or that you necessarily give to a Chinese server. Any Chinese server that legitimately the government could find.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can get access to.
I think it's unfair to pick on China a little bit because I'm fairly certain the Patriot Act in the States is for security purposes. The US government can do the exact same thing. So really, what I'm saying is when you buy a phone, you will be spied on. Just choose who spies on you. You can choose, I'm pretty sure that hardware is made Taiwan, Korea, potentially Japan. I can't think of a Japanese company that would make it there on the top of my head. But so that wasn't even the biggest thing though, because so they can't sell in the US. It's a big market, but it's not going to end them, right? Because I think their biggest market is China, and then their next biggest market is Europe, which I think is 29% or something. What's massive is the fact that, and this is what I find interesting about this. The US has that much power over them. Google has way more. And I find it interesting that a company has so much more power than a government. So Google has said that future generations of Huawei phones will no longer be receiving Google updates and Google software. So they won't have the Google Play Store. They'll still have Android in its basic form, but if you don't have all that Google stuff, no YouTube, no real alternate app store, what have you got? And you won't sell it. Like, I don't think it won't end Huawei. Like, they're a massive telecommunications company doing 5G, all sorts of different stuff. They're ready to go with it like now. But
maybe it's a step towards China bringing out their own attempt at Google, which could, having said what you've just said before, if the Chinese government has access to all Chinese servers and people start running off essentially the Chinese version of Google,
it won't happen.
You know,
Nah, not at all. So Chinese sort of I want to say cyber ecosystem is very different in the sense that they can just shut themselves off to the world like that. Whereas, and I think Russia's quite similar. And
probably
to be frank, governments wouldn't allow it, right? Like our government, I can't imagine, would say, yeah, Chinese Google, that's a search engine that we're going to allow you to have. And the same thing with the States. There might be access to it, but then they'll just hack you back, man.
Yeah, but that's not to say that you wouldn't get access to it in other countries.
I don't see any bar like China and a few very close allies of them doing it. I can't see it happening.
What about if you had, I mean, this is purely hypothetical. If I do business with a company who runs off a server in, let's say, Thailand, and that business uses that data or does further business with a company close to China or in China, do you think that could pose a risk as a channel or a method for China to still gain access to that sort of information?
Yeah, so there's heaps of different ways, right? So, for one, I'm pretty sure any number of Southeast governments, I know definitely, I think Malaysia and Singapore, they have the same rules. If the server's on their land, they can look what's inside. But that's with any dealings with China, right? Any dealings with any nation. I shouldn't just pick on China, even though they seem to be heavily shown in the news for all this hacking business. But yeah, if you're doing business with someone overseas and then their company is closely related to them, like, to be honest, if they want that info, they'll probably hack you either way. They'll get it anyway.
Yeah, I think the fact is it's not worth worrying about who has access to what, because realistically in this modern day and age, if anyone really wants access to anything,
it's different when you get to levels like government.
Yeah, it's probably a bit different when you get to levels like government, but in terms of like your everyday person, there's that much accessibility out there that.
No, I think you still worry about it, right? Because when do you get too loose with your information and then...
Well,
okay,
yeah, I'm not saying...
You're not trusting foreign governments to have that info. You're trusting everyone to have that info. And there's enough malicious actors as it is.
Yeah, I'm not saying we should necessarily be free with our information. I'm just saying that we shouldn't necessarily, me as an individual...
Shouldn't worry about Huawei. Is that sort of what you're saying? Like, yeah, if you get a Huawei phone and it's a marquee phone and it's pretty cheap, like, you should be allowed to just have that.
Well, whether I should be allowed to have it is a different question. But because then you're talking about something entirely. Then you're talking about access to other, like, interconnected systems. But I personally don't feel like China is going to be targeting, or any nation necessarily, is really going to be targeting me personally.
Have you listened to our other 2 podcasts? They're
Yes.
targeting you. Have you seen that first little snippet on Instagram?
Yeah, but you know what? Good thing only about 7 other people have heard it, so it's all good.
Yeah, we're actually
not
safe.
a problem.
A lot of fake Indian accounts on there, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that hurts. That really does hurt. I'd love for some real listeners just to give us just a little something.
I'm really just grateful for the notifications that I'm getting. It seems like I'm a little more popular with the phone going off all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. One other thing I was actually going to mention as well with the Huawei thing. So not only has Google cut Huawei off, the massive company that provides all of like Apple's facial recognition software and does all that stuff for them has also cut Huawei off. So either they're going to have to start, but it sort of just adds an extra step. So there's another company that's still quite large. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they're also, you know, big in phones and whatnot, and they're not cut off, so they can just sort of then sell to Huawei. Like, it's just kind of adding one inconvenient step. But once you sort of cut China off altogether, then you look at it becomes harder for them to spy than anyone to spy, really.
Yeah, right.
But based on that, would you buy a Huawei phone?
I think I had a Huawei phone for my first phone.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Wasn't bad, but I did lose it on a drunken mishap one night.
Nice.
This was when I was younger, and Mum and Dad were like, fuck, where's your phone? I've been calling you all afternoon. I was like, fuck, she's just dead. I'm sorry. I'll charge it up.
Pretty sure I remember that
Yeah.
week.
That went on for about 6 months.
Yeah, I can't believe you made it through that. How did we communicate? We just messaged over Facebook,
I
didn't we?
have no idea. I'm pretty
On
sure I
your
had an iPad or iPod Touch at home. These were dark days.
I liked the iPod
I
Touch.
woke up, I was like, fuck. I remember putting it in my bag and then waking up and seeing the zipper open. I was like, ooh, this is a problem for future Joel.
Remember the days when that was the biggest problem in your life?
I feel like if I lost my phone now, it'd be a bigger problem.
Yeah, it would almost be more problematic.
All right, but like
No, I understand that.
now it's a pretty simple fix. Whereas back then you were like, oh crap, Mum and Dad are going to find out,
Yeah.
going to get in trouble.
Yeah, was losing your phone the problem, or was Mum and Dad finding out the
Yeah,
My dad.
problem? Fuck that. Should we move on?
yeah, why not?
This one's a way off central topic. Iggy Azalea? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Iggy Azalea.
Should know. She's Australian.
Yep. So
Where's the name from?
it happened yesterday, I think. I think I read on the news, or maybe yesterday in the States. So she's had some nude pictures leaked, and she shut down all sort of social media. I feel real bad for her.
Yeah, I do too.
I
But a
like
part of me
Iggy.
is like, God, she's super attractive. We haven't looked at these yet, and I do feel really sorry for her.
I don't know. Does a part of you go though? Fuck it, just own it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, what can you do with that?
At this point, like I think she's going to press legal action, and she's obviously very upset, as you would be. Like, has absolutely every right to be. But at what point do you go?
Massive like breach of privacy. But then again, are her music videos that different from what's been shared?
I don't know.
Like there is
I
a
haven't
lot
seen
of
the clips.
explicit content.
I
on
think
it.
at that point you're asking about stylized, not necessarily responsible, but regulated
Yeah, you're right.
explicit material as opposed to
Soft
private
porn.
material for private use.
I agree. I think it sucks because I wonder how they got leaked. I assume something was hacked, but
Pretty sure iCloud is the main.
yeah, because there was that big the fappening thing. Hey,
What a
that's
name.
a hilarious name
Oh,
for what was a pretty mean thing to do. But
the dark era.
yeah, do you think she could have just lied? She could have just gone, nah, they're photoshopped.
Yeah, but at what point? Like,
Someone's gonna check it out
Yeah.
properly, aren't they?
yeah.
And I just think as soon as you like they're out there now, you might as well go, yep, that's me bod.
It's not like accidentally uploading a nude on your Snapchat story and deleting it and one person's seen it. Like it's up there, and like because you're in the spotlight, people have seen it, and if they want to see it, they're gonna see it.
I sort of have to wonder, like, why? Why did
why take the nude in the first place?
Yeah, like what
nudes?
purpose do you have for these?
People sell them for large amounts of money to media companies to distribute.
All right, so if you are selling it, then at that point you're talking far more about a marketing problem or a profit problem as opposed to
Copyright issue, really.
Yeah, at that point it doesn't become a personal issue. It becomes, actually, hang on, I was going to sell this commodity, and you've just taken my ability to do that away.
Well, maybe she just wanted to send them to a special someone, and
Which would be perfectly reasonable.
well, like, look, it is. I'm not gonna by any means say that this is her fault for taking the nude, but I think there's been enough cases like this, and enough advice out there. Probably just don't do it, eh?
Yeah, this is why I'm strictly pro posting my nudes. Posting as in like, not emailing, mailing, like postage.
What? Australia Post it.
Yeah.
So you've actually got a pretty funny story about a...
No, I'm not telling that.
No? Okay.
I can't tell that. Oh,
Cousin.
shut up. I said we weren't going to tell. Oh,
Fuck yes.
if the listeners to this podcast were as dumb as me, they wouldn't get it. But people piece shit together. I'm going to have to keep it in, though. I know.
No, you can get rid of it.
No,
Don't feel like you have to keep anything in.
Cousin. That's all I'll say. That's
I thought you knew. I thought everybody knew.
I'm pretty sure I know.
I do now. Iggy's real name's Amethyst, I'm pretty sure. And
yeah, I think that is the thing. Actually, I might as well just Google
she
it. Hey?
grew up, I'm pretty sure it's a hole. I'm pretty sure it's just off of Byron Bay.
Oh yeah. Well,
And it's got a real famous amethyst cave there. Where's she from? What does it say?
so Amethyst Amelia Kelly,
God.
born June 7th, 1990. Oh, her birthday's coming up too.
Wonder where the name Iggy Azalea comes from then.
I'm pretty sure she said her dog's name was Iggy,
So
which is
the
awful.
pictures-
Yeah,
What
that's
an
a bit of an
awful
odd
rapper's
reason.
name.
Oh, okay. So she said she felt violated by a nude photo leak. So I'm reading on BBC.com here. The pictures were taken during a photo shoot for GQ magazine in 2016, but never intended for publication. The Australian rapper said she felt blindsided, embarrassed. I don't think she cared so much. Like, she was obviously upset about this, but she said it was the vicious and vile reactions to the photos, including men sharing sexual fantasies, that led her to erase her accounts. A lot of comments I see from men in particular showing their thoughts and fantasies in regards to my body has honestly disturbed me. So she's obviously just got the largest number of DMs on Instagram or something, just saying like probably what the men maybe see as okay to do. It's not okay, whatever they did. Like, you can't hit a celebrity up after anything like that. Like,
Yeah, see, that just comes down to a fact of human decency. You don't target someone. You know, there's just certain things you don't say, certain things you keep yourself.
At Israel.
so she said that she has never consented to their release. I don't know. I wonder who released them. It sort of seems like GQ should have absolutely...
Yeah, so does that mean
deleted
they've gotten the pictures from GQ?
Probably. Like, I can't see...
What
We're not
is
intending-
GQ?
Magazine. Very.
So they
Esteemed.
were... Officially sanctioned images from the photo shoot are still available on the GQs. No, so that's the ones that aren't nude, I'd assume. Along with a story explaining how the topless photos were not intended for publication, but were a birthday gift for her plastic surgeon.
See, that was my next question. I was going to say, why would they take the pictures if they were never intended to be publicated? But this makes sense, but it's a stupid story.
There was no reason for anyone to have kept the outtakes from the shoot.
Was the photo shoot done by GQ?
I believe so.
Must have been.
Because surely you would think for something like that, you would do it through
God.
private means. I have to wonder whether that's a...
Go to your plastic surgeon person.
Yeah. surely if you are actively concerned about this and you've thought about the risks involved, you actually take steps to prevent this sort of thing by going to a particularly professional, private institution or private system, take insurances and make contracts and that sort of thing to ensure the safety. It's just a level of common sense that you would expect from that sort of person. And especially with people around them, like managers and all sorts of people to give them advice, you would think a celebrity of all people would actually have someone at least say, hang on a sec.
This is not a good call.
You don't reckon?
I mean, someone should be saying this is not a good call.
Yeah.
What is GQ? Is it just a magazine? I don't even know.
There's a lot more to it, I think, but it's very esteemed. Like
GQ.
it's big.
But is
Iggy Azalea was
it
awarded.
esteemed as a tabloid or is it esteemed as like a reputable organisation?
I don't know, but
Both, I believe.
all I can see here is, because I'm just reading on their site, can you even write this? I don't even know. Iggy Azalea was awarded GQ's Woman of the Year at a ceremony in Sydney. That's lovely, right? It follows that with where she made a speech about her award-winning
Vagina.
Yeah, right.
Surely they can share that because, well, apparently she said it, didn't she?
Yeah, apparently.
We're looking at some of the photos that aren't the nudes, they're the GQ magazine photo shoot, and when you think nude, you think like a nasty sort of thing. Not nasty, but like taken in a bathroom, in a mirror, and like strike a pose. But if the nudes that were leaked were anything like this photo shoot, it's borderline art, really. Like,
yeah, I can't imagine anyone being in. You couldn't be too upset about it, really. Just be like,
I've got to
that's
wonder
me.
if she was sending them to a plastic surgeon. Surely the photos that have been taken have seriously just been her standing in like standard human anatomy pose, side view, front view.
they got the fan on.
I'll
You
be
know,
honest,
like-
I don't think this is
Because your plastic
this is that.
surgeon is going to be looking, to see their work and how it sits, and the.
I don't
Well,
think this is that.
See, that's what makes me think. Hang on, were these actually meant to be a gift for your plastic surgeon, or is this like a?
I'm actually going to go a little bit way off central on this topic because I've got some questions now. This has brought up some questions. Plastic surgeons, especially those that do breast implants and whatnot. Do you think? Okay, a couple of things. One, are they usually male? Because I've only ever seen male ones on Arena.
I have only ever seen male.
Two, do you think it could? Do you think it'll ruin boobs for you?
It'd have to.
Like, because you're cutting them open and...
Be like being a landscaper and judging out front of someone's house going, could have done that better. Or you start picking out the imperfections, I guess, which...
No, I just think more from the scalpel point of view. Like, that would... I imagine cutting into... I don't know about cutting into humans. And also, are they a bit pervy? Is that it? It's an outrageous call to make because I don't know any, and I'm sure they're nice enough people just doing their job, doctors or surgeons or whatever their title may be. But that, and also, have you ever heard of a female gynecologist?
Yeah. No, I've
Have
definitely
you?
heard of female gynecologists.
Because whenever I go into like a GP's office, and I always read their little certificates up on the wall, every single male one, I swear, has a certificate of gynecology. I don't know. I just think,
It's a breach of power.
is that a creepy profession?
Surely it's not. Like, surely this is just a...
Yeah, it just becomes another body part, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like a shoulder
It'd have to become...
or an elbow.
It'd have to become something that I can separate their personal experience from.
Yeah, they'd have to.
From what I've heard, male gynecologists are a bit better in the sense that they get the women like fast tracked on a waiting list. Like waiting lists for girls, they can be on them for years and years, and then some women gynecologists, from what I've heard, say like, oh, in a sense, it's not that bad, and then they can play it up to guys a bit more, and not that they're dumber and don't know what they're doing,
But the guys haven't had that.
yeah, they see it more urgent, I guess.
Yeah, so
that's
because
they don't have that experience, they don't know how bad what they're going through
Yeah.
is. They have to go, let's move this along.
Yeah, this
hey?
sounds pretty bad,
that's-
better
that
jump that one up.
That seems understandable, yeah.
And with that information, it makes sense that there'd be more male gynecologists, like successful ones.
Yeah, because maybe it's not a creepy thing. Maybe it's more of a
Word of
they ta-
mouth.
and they take the time of day because they don't know what they're going through, so they have to assume it's the worst.
In terms of this stuff, it just jumps you right back to things like men and women in professional positions. Like, more often than not, you'll have males in higher positions, and that's not to do with gender discrimination or anything like that. It's simply because a lot of women will, instead of pursuing some of these amazing professions, will actually just drop off the professional tree and start a family. That's not to say people who start a family can't get back into it, but quite often you look at a lot of professional women, and those who are significantly higher than their counterparts a lot of the time don't have children. That's just something you need to consider.
That's probably
In terms of
reasonable, and based just purely off the fact that if you're gonna have kids, you're gonna have to take some time off work.
Yeah, exactly.
Just as simple as, and you have your stay-at-home dads and whatnot, but you're gonna have to have maternity leave. Like, you're going through something that is gonna be traumatic, and then more often than not, they're gonna want to be the one that's there with the baby, and whether they have 2 or 3 or 1, it's gonna end up having you a little bit behind because you're going to be not at work as long. And and even if, because this is a big thing from feminists that say that, they want to make it so if women go off and have a family, then there's still no gap. And my thinking is, right, let's say you have them go right back into where they were. It's still going to be so difficult for them to progress as quickly because they've missed out on years of experience. Like, they've missed out on years of... It's essentially practice. Every day you go to work, you practice.
Not only that, but depending on when someone has children, that can completely alter how they learn things. As a younger person, you learn things a lot easier. So if you take 2 years off to have 2 children, by the time you actually get back into the workforce, your learning rate is going to be a lot slower than it was when you were fresh out of school or, fresh into the workforce.
Absolutely.
Which, yeah, it's not a negative factor. Like, we're not saying that this is a bad thing at all. It's just something that needs to be considered in terms of the feminism and wealth gaps and all that sort of argument.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we probably should stop that topic for the moment because there will definitely be episodes upon episodes on this. Like, we could probably talk for hours about it. But you did mention schooling on there. And I did think, did we have a topic on schooling or a couple on schooling?
We did. Harper brought up this nice little topic, and it was what we have noticed since school and advice that we could give to current students.
So I think when I was thinking of this, it sort of really brought me back to a big part of why I decided this podcast was sort of a good idea, because since school, obviously I've learnt quite a bit. I've jumped out into the real world to some degree. Started experiencing new things, seeing new people, all sorts of different stuff.
Having car crashes.
All sorts of different stuff.
Nose beers. You're going to have to cut that bit.
Bing pot.
Chugga. I know we can cut this in editing.
quick
I'm actually
5-minute
going to
break
write down
while we-
minute 37. Or will we?
No, definitely. Although this is funny, we're having a laugh.
Yeah, actually,
this is what the
Other
people
people
want to
might quickly. Well, I'm just going to listen to this back in editing, but we've done some practice recordings, and this will be our probably 4th major recording. But 2 out of 4 so far shifted towards porn, and then this 4th one has sort of soft porn with us talking
A
about
bit of it-
vaginas.
No, but it's sort of been like midway between porn and politics. We found our happy medium because one was heavy on politics, a couple were heavy on porn. Now we're porn politics. Maybe this is our niche. Maybe we're political porn commentators.
Maybe
want
this
an
is why you always get politicians in like strip clubs and stuff. Maybe the two things are just undeniably linked.
This is where they started. This is where the politicians started.
Can I also just reiterate on the fact that, Joel, as you just mentioned, this is our fourth recording. Sometimes they're not going to be as quality as others. Sometimes the conversation won't flow as well. Sometimes it'll flow better. But every minute we're behind the mic, I think we're going a step in the right direction for whatever this is.
I think we're just getting a little more comfortable, which we said we would.
Comfortable?
Yeah, I was going to say, did anyone else hear that?
Yeah, that was a little
I absolutely
Comfortable. I was also going to say before, being a professional, like gynecologist, male or female, surely there are some days you get someone and you go, God, that is a nice vagina. Push all like perverted nature aside and just professional and like comparing.
And just go, that was something
Yeah, like
aesthetically pleasing. And I guess you do that with anything but, right?
yeah,
Like if you're like a physio and someone's done their knee and then you're looking at their leg and go, that is just a well-proportioned leg, like muscular or whatever if
Yeah.
they're an athlete, or same thing with any body part. That's what I was saying before. If it just becomes another body part, then I guess it can just be aesthetically pleasing.
exactly. And would it be weird to compliment?
Abso-fucking-lutely. I
I
cannot
don't think so.
really. You're gonna
Nor do
perform
I.
a pap smear and then go, by the way, you have a lovely vagina.
No,
That's
see that
that's
I
the
think
start
is
of
wrong.
Brazzers.
But what I think would be okay is to say something like, "Oh, actually, genetically, this is a perfect example. You know, like this doesn't have
That made me feel good.
impurities."
I want you to
And-
look at my vagina.
And especially if you're talking about something like a physio, like it wouldn't be weird for someone to say, I wouldn't feel weird someone complimenting me in terms of something that I don't consider sexual.
I don't take compliments well, but I think if a physio did say, got a nice
cock.
leg, or
Oh, yeah.
fuck,
Yeah,
okay.
like they're not
I'd be like, oh, thank you, like that's actually nice.
at that point they're not trying to come onto you. They're like, actually no, like structurally, you have a pretty good looking leg.
Yeah, and do you think also you'd feel particularly good about it because this person's seeing them day in and
Exactly,
day out?
Yeah,
And
sure.
That's got to be the sticking point. doesn't
another
it?
outlying factor is genitals are a pretty like major part of your body, and like people are always like uncomfortable with how theirs looks or compared to others. And hearing a professional, if they word it correctly, like Josh did, you might at that time go red and go like, "What the fuck did this idiot just say?" But you might go home and sleep on it and go, "Cool."
Yeah, you
That's
actually,
awesome.
you actually, it'd probably do wonders for your confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, I dare say genitalia is just, it's unattractive, isn't it?
Yeah, you get a
It's-
picture of it by itself. Yeah.
That's not for me.
Yeah, genitalia, as it's on its own, it's nothing. It's not what you want.
You're right. Should we get onto this school topic?
Yeah. So, what advice would we give to current students? Seems as though we've had a few years out in the real world after school.
You've had a few, Joel. We've had two. That one and a half.
Yeah, we're getting there. So essentially, what I was thinking is, obviously, I've learned a bit since school. I'm still learning. That's part of what this whole podcast is about. And yeah, I sort of wanted to hear what you guys have thought, particularly since school. Like what things have you noticed about people? What things have you noticed about yourself? Have you noticed that you notice different things? Have you noticed that you want different things?
I think I envied people through school, and I envy people now who know exactly what they want to do. So if you're like that, then treat it like a blessing. That's not to say that if you don't know what you want to do, not that, I'm only a year and a half out of school, so I can't really say it's not like I've gone through a dozen different professions, but
Only two.
You've heard it here first. Aydin says, if you don't know what you want to do when you leave school, you're a fucking idiot.
like me. No,
Yeah.
like
But
like
no,
us.
Yeah, seriously. But if you don't know what you want to do when you leave school, you'll probably be all right. Instead of, look, if you're stressing over it, because I did that a bit. Just make sure at the end of school, just jump into something. Like, jump into something reasonable. Don't do a uni course that you're not exactly sold on and then you're going to come out of with a massive fucking debt. Jump into a trade or jump into cheaper course at like a TAFE or something. Get the ball rolling. I think do something so then you know what you like.
Try and do something that gives you a lot of exposure.
100%. And if you do a work experience and you're like, oh, I like teaching, then just fucking jump into it. Like, just jump into a job at childcare and jump into uni or whatever. But don't sit around waiting, because I can't imagine it coming to you. Like,
No,
it didn't come to the three of us, and we're by no means successful yet. And I've never heard of anyone saying, yeah, look, I just sat on my ass and all of a sudden it hit me. You know?
light bulbs.
Having said that, we actually know a few people who, when they got out of school, they've done essentially nothing. They've just kept working at their standard job, like a high school grade job, whether it was just making fast food or something like that. And it's not until recently when they've found maybe not necessarily a better job, but a different job where they're actually learning something or they're just experiencing a little more, that they've come into their own and they're a bit happier about what they're doing.
Yeah, it's odd that you say like a high school standard job, something that puts fuel in your car really, and that's about it. Like, you're not really paying board, or you might be, but you like mostly as a general term, retail or like anything
retail,
along those
fast
lines.
food.
Yeah, and it's weird. The people that are still doing that after school, it could be all false, but they look a bit happier.
I think they're happier now. I don't know. I feel as though I'd be happier. I feel like you'll get a sense of happiness knowing that you're doing something, working towards something. If you have a clear short-term goal that might not even be what you want to do, like, just stick shit out for at least a year, like, while you're fucking young.
Yeah, I think it's probably just best to achieve one thing so you can achieve another. Don't half-ass everything, but actually commit to achieving at least one thing.
Yeah, you've got all the time in the world, essentially. It's not uncommon for people to change career paths later on in their lives, because why stick with something if you're not happy with it? That's not the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't know about your parents, but mine have done, like, probably switched careers, I want to say close to 20 times.
It's quite a few.
That's a lot.
Yeah, like, I know that my stepdad has changed careers a bunch of times, and now seems happy. He's been in the same sort of industry for most of the time, like the time I've known him. Different jobs, but same industry, and doing quite well.
My dad was I'm not too sure what his first job. Oh, he used to be a postie on the little red bikes here in Australia, and he got the shits with that and high blood pressure because the bike didn't go fast enough. So gave him the shits, and he did that for like 2 days. And he's like, "Fuck this, I can't do this." And he's a butcher by trade. Went off meat there for a bit because he'd been mixing mince, and you'd cut your hands so many times, and by the time you finish mixing the mince, pull out your hands, all the band-aids are off your fingers, and just through the minces. And he's worked in civil for a major part of his life. I'm sure of it, and yeah.
Well, on that disgusting note, that probably brings us to the end of episode 3, I dare say. Guys, if you've made it this far, once again, thanks for listening. Please give some feedback, flick us a like or a dislike. Just any action on the page is good action, I reckon. And hopefully you tune in next week. Cheers.
Catches.